The Grand Assembly Hall was the largest room in the known galaxy. It floated in space like a metal flower, with 1,000 seats rising in circles around a central platform. Species from every corner of the universe sat in those seats. Some had scales, some had feathers. Some were made of pure light. They all looked down at the two humans standing alone on the platform below. Day One stood with his hands behind his back. He wore a simple black suit. His face showed nothing. No fear, no anger. Just calm patience, like a man waiting for a bus. Beside him, his advisor Hannah held a small tablet. Her eyes moved quickly, reading data that scrolled across the screen. She was not looking at the council members. She was looking at the ships gathering outside. Chairman Vriltic rose from his throne at the highest point of the chamber. He was tall and covered in green scales. His eyes were yellow with black slits. When he spoke, his voice echoed through the hall like thunder. "Humanity," he said. "You stand accused?" The chamber was silent. 1,000 alien eyes watched. 1,000 alien minds waited. In only 50 years since first contact, you have spread across 200 worlds, Vriltic continued. You have built weapons that threaten the peace. You have refused to follow our laws. You have ignored our warnings. Day One did not move. He did not speak. He just listened. The Galactic Council has protected peace for 10,000 years, Vriltic said. We will not allow one young species to destroy everything we have built. An ancient being made of blue light floated up from his seat. This was Moros the Infinite. He was older than most stars. When he spoke, his voice was soft, but everyone heard it clearly. We do not wish to harm you, Moros said. But you must understand. Every species that joins the Council must give up their weapons. Every species must follow our rules. This is how peace survives. Hannah leaned close to Day One. They have 6,000 ships outside, she whispered. More coming. Day One gave a small nod but said nothing. Vriltic raised his clawed hand. Here is our offer, humans. You will destroy all your weapons. You will stop building colonies. You will let us put observers on all your worlds. Do this, and you may remain in the galaxy as a peaceful species. A creature that looked like a giant insect clicked its jaws. And if they refuse? Vriltic's yellow eyes locked onto Day One. Then we will have no choice. We will remove the threat by force. The chamber waited. This was the moment every species remembered from their own history. The moment they had surrendered to the Council's power. The moment they had given up their freedom for safety. Some had fought. All had lost. The Council's fleets were too large. Their technology was too advanced. Resistance was death. Every species in that chamber had felt the fear. Every species had made the same choice. Submit or die. Day One took a slow breath. He looked up at the 1,000 faces watching him. Then he looked at Vriltic. No, he said. The word was quiet, but it hit the chamber like a bomb. Several council members stood up from their seats. Others made sounds of shock. The insect creature's wings buzzed with agitation. Vriltic's scales darkened with anger. You do not understand your situation, human. We have the largest fleet in the galaxy. We have weapons you cannot imagine. You have been in space for only 50 years. We have ruled for 10,000. I understand perfectly, Day One said. His voice was still calm, still patient. You want us to give up everything that makes us strong. You want us to trust you with our survival. You want us to believe you will protect us. We will protect you, Moros said. As we protect all species. You protect them by controlling them, Day One replied. You protect them by keeping them weak. You protect them by making sure they can never challenge you. He shook his head slowly. Humanity will not live on its knees. Vriltic slammed his fist on his throne. Then you will die on your feet. Is that what you want? War with the entire Galactic Council? Hannah's tablet beeped. More ships had arrived outside. The number was now over 8,000. Day One looked at the tablet. Then he looked back at Vriltic. Something changed in his eyes. The patience was still there, but now there was something else underneath. Something hard. Something cold. Let me tell you about humanity, Day One said. We are a young species. You are right about that. We have only been in space for 50 years. But do you know what we did before that? The chamber was silent. We fought, Day One said. We fought each other. For thousands of years we made war. We built weapons and we used them. We destroyed cities. We killed millions of our own kind. We burned and bled and suffered. He took a step forward. His voice grew stronger. And then we stopped. We chose to stop. We built a peace between ourselves. Not because someone forced us. Not because we were afraid. Because we decided that we were better than our worst nature. He looked around the chamber at all the alien faces. You think we are afraid of war? We were born in war. We grew up in war. War is in our blood and our bones. We do not want it, but we do not fear it. Vriltik stood taller. Pretty words will not save you. You are one species against the entire galaxy. You cannot win. Day One smiled. It was a small smile, but it made several council members lean back in their seats. You have not fought a real war in 10,000 years, Day One said. You have bullied young species into surrender. You have crushed small rebellions. But a real war? A war against an enemy that will not stop? An enemy that will fight to the last breath? He shook his head. You have forgotten what that means. Vriltik's voice was ice. Then you choose death. I choose freedom, Day One said. For my people and for every species you have crushed under your rule. This is your final answer? Day One nodded. It is, Vriltik raised his hand. Then by the authority of the Galactic Council I declare humanity an enemy of peace. Our fleets will destroy your colonies. Our soldiers will occupy your worlds. Your species will be broken. The Tvimber erupted in noise. Voices shouted. Wings buzzed. Lights flashed through it all. Day One stood perfectly still. He waited until the noise faded. Then he spoke again. You said if we refuse, war begins? Yes, Vriltik hissed. Day One looked at Hannah. She pressed a button on her tablet. Somewhere far away, a signal was sent. Then Day One looked back at the chairman of the Galactic Council. His eyes were steady. His voice was quiet. But every being in that chamber heard him clearly. Then the war begins now. The lights in the chamber flickered. Outside, in the darkness of space, something was happening. The council members turned to look at their screens. Their faces changed. Shock, confusion, fear. Day One did not look. He already knew what they were seeing. Humanity was done waiting. The council war. Room was deep inside Station Omega-7. Screens covered every wall, showing maps of the galaxy. Red dots marked human colonies. Blue dots marked council fleets. There were so many blue dots that they looked like an ocean ready to swallow a few small islands. Fleet. Commander Crix-9 stood at the center of the room. He was tall and thin, with a hard shell covering his body and 4 arms that clicked together when he was pleased. Right now he was very pleased. 10,000 ships, he said to the council members around him. The largest fleet we have ever gathered. The humans have perhaps 300. This will not be a war. It will be an execution. Vriltik watched from his command chair. His yellow eyes were still angry from the insult in the assembly hall. I want it done quickly. Destroy their outer colonies first. Make them see that resistance is hopeless. It will be done in days, Crix-9 promised. His jaws clicked with satisfaction. Moros the Infinite floated near the back of the room. He said nothing, but his light seemed dimmer than usual. He had seen many young species crushed by the council. He had always told himself it was necessary. It was for peace. But something about the human ambassador's words stayed in his mind. The fleet moved out. 10,000 ships jumping through space toward humanity's outer colonies. The commanders were relaxed. Some were even bored. They had done this before. Every few centuries, some young species would refuse to submit. The result was always the same. Far across the galaxy, Admiral Taman stood on the bridge of his flagship. He was a small man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had been a soldier for 40 years. He had fought in Earth's last wars before humanity reached space. He knew what war really meant. "Report," he said. His tactical officer, a young woman named Captain Yuna, looked up from her screens. "The Council fleet has left Omega-7, 10,400 ships. They are heading for the Outer Ring colonies. Time to arrival? 6 hours. Taemin nodded. He pressed a button on his chair. "All stations, this is Admiral Taemin. Execute Protocol 0. Repeat, execute Protocol 0. Across human space, things began to happen. Colony ships launched from planets. Civilians moved to underground shelters. Weapon systems that had been hidden for years came online. In his intelligence center on Earth, G1 watched data streams from 100 sources. He was thin and quiet, with glasses that he was always pushing up his nose. He looked like a librarian, but he commanded the largest spy network in human space. "They think this will be easy," he said to himself. He almost felt sorry for them, almost. The Council fleet arrived at the first human colony, a planet called New Sol. They expected to find a scared population. They expected to find weak defenses. They expected surrender. They found nothing. The planet was empty. The cities were dark. The people were gone. Crix-9 was confused. "Scan for life signs." "None detected, Commander." "The planet is abandoned." "Impossible." There were 2 million humans here. He ordered his ships closer. They entered orbit around the silent planet. That was when the first ships died. Mines, thousands of them, hidden in the planet's rings and debris fields. They were small and dark and invisible to Council sensors. When the ships passed, the mines woke up. Explosions lit up the darkness. Council ships broke apart. Shields that had never been tested in real combat failed under weapons they had never seen before. Crix-9 screamed orders. "Pull back. Pull back." But pulling back only made it worse. The mines were everywhere. The fleet scattered, and the scattered ships flew into more traps. In 1 hour, the Council lost 2,000 ships. Back on Earth, Admiral Taemin watched the reports come in. His face showed no joy. He knew this was only the beginning. "They will learn," he said. "They will adapt. The traps will not work forever." No, wait. "But they will learn something else too. They will learn to be afraid." The Council war room was in chaos. Screens flashed red. Officers shouted. Crix-9's image appeared on the main display. His shell was cracked and smoking. "We have lost 2,000 ships," he reported. His voice was shaking. The planet was a trap. The whole system was a trap. Vriltik could not believe what he was hearing. 2,000 ships? To mines? Not just mines. Automated weapons. Things that hid and waited and attacked from everywhere. "We have never seen anything like it." A council member spoke up. "Perhaps we should reconsider. Perhaps we should talk to the humans again." "No!" Vriltik slammed his fist down. "We do not negotiate with defiant species. Send more ships? Overwhelm them with numbers." "Chairman," Morah said softly, "perhaps we should ask ourselves a question." "What question?" "The humans have been in space for 50 years. They knew that someday they might face the Council. They knew they would be outnumbered." Moros paused. "What have they been doing for 50 years? The room was silent. "They have been preparing," Moros said. "Preparing for us." Captain Yuna brought her ship, the Shadow Dancer, close to the retreating Council fleet. Her ship was small and fast and nearly invisible. She watched the enemy and she took notes. Their formations were old. Their tactics were simple. Their ships were powerful, but slow. They had never needed to be quick. They had never needed to think. For 10,000 years, they had won with pure numbers. Yuna sent her report to Admiral Taemin. "They are not soldiers. They are bullies. They have forgotten how to fight." Taemin read the report and nodded. This was what he had expected. What he had planned for. The Council had ruled the galaxy by fear. They had crushed any species that stood up to them. But crushing weak enemies had made them weak themselves. Their weapons were old. Their tactics were older. They had never needed to innovate. They had never needed to improve. Humanity had done nothing but innovate and improve. For their entire history, humans had fought each other. They had developed new weapons, new strategies, new ways to kill. It was a dark part of their nature, but it was also their greatest strength. Now that strength would be turned against the Council, one's spies sent more good news. The Council was not as united as it appeared. Many species had been conquered long ago. They served the Council out of fear, not loyalty. Some of them were already asking questions. If the humans could hurt the Council, maybe they could be free. We need to reach out to them, Zhuan told Admiral Taimin. We need to show them that we are not just fighting for ourselves. Taimin agreed. This cannot be humanity against the galaxy. It must be freedom against tyranny. The second attack came 2 days later. The Council sent 5,000 ships this time, and they were more careful. They scanned for mines. They moved slowly. They learned from their mistakes, but humanity had learned too. The second colony was also empty, but this time there were no mines. Instead, there were ships. Only 50 human ships, but they did not fight like Council ships. They were fast. They struck and vanished. They attacked from angles that should not be possible. They worked together like parts of one mind. The Council fleet was huge and strong, but it was like a giant trying to catch flies. Every time they turned to fight, the humans were gone. Every time they tried to regroup, the humans hit them again. The battle lasted 6 hours. The Council lost 800 more ships. The humans lost 12. In his command chair, Crix-9 felt something he had never felt before in his long military career. Fear. He looked at the stars around him. Somewhere out there, the humans were waiting. They had been waiting for 50 years. They had been planning and building and preparing. And the Council had walked right into their trap. The war had only just begun. And already Crix-9 knew the truth that the Council refused to see. They had made a terrible mistake. For 3 months, the Council attacked. For 3 months, they lost. Every colony they reached was empty. Every system they entered was a trap. The humans gave ground slowly, pulling back toward their core worlds. But every step cost the Council blood. Then, without warning, humanity stopped retreating. Commander Sunho stood on the bridge of the strike carrier Indomitable. He was tall and broad, with a scar across his jaw from a war on Earth long ago. His crew called him the Stone because nothing ever seemed to shake him. All ships report ready, his tactical officer said. Good, Sunho looked at the screens. Ahead of him was the Helix Nebula, a cloud of purple and gold gases that stretched across light years. On the other side of the nebula was Council space. Today we stop running. Today we take the war to them. 200 human ships moved into the nebula. They were small compared to Council warships, but they were fast and smart and carried weapons that the Council had never seen. The Council had 3,000 ships guarding the Helix Nebula. They saw the humans coming and they laughed. The numbers were so uneven that some commanders thought it was a trick, a distraction. No one would be stupid enough to attack with such a small force. Sunho was not stupid. He was just human. Launch all fighters, he ordered. From the carriers, hundreds of small ships poured out like angry bees from a hive. At the front of them was Ghost Wing Squadron, and at the front of Ghost Wing was a young pilot named Hyun-Wu. Hyun-Wu was 23 years old. He had been flying since he was 16 and fighting since he was 19. He was small and fast, and he never stopped smiling, even when things were bad. His squad mates said he was crazy. He said he was just having fun. Ghost Wing, form up on me, he called into his radio. Time to show these lizards how humans fly. The Council fighters came to meet them. They were bigger and had stronger shields, and their weapons were guided by advanced computers. On paper, they should have won easily, but the Council pilots had learned to fly from computers. They followed rules and patterns and programs. They were precise but predictable. Hyun-Wu had learned to fly in the wild spaces between Earth's old nations. He had no rules. He had no patterns. He flew on instinct and reflex and the pure joy of movement. His fighter twisted through the Council formation like water through rocks. He was here, then there, then somewhere else. His weapons fired in short bursts, always hitting, never wasting. Council fighters exploded around him. What is he doing? A council pilot screamed. He is not following any attack pattern. That is because he is not attacking, another pilot said, his voice full of fear. He is hunting. Ghostwing tore through the council fighters. For every human lost, 20 council ships died. It was not a battle. It was a lesson. While the fighters fought, Commander Sung-ho led his carriers into the heart of the council fleet. The big ships tried to surround him, to crush him with their numbers. But Sung-ho used the nebula. He hid in the gas clouds. He struck from below, from above, from behind. He was never where they expected. They are too slow, Sung-ho said. They turn like mountains. By the time they aim, we are gone. A council battleship finally got a lock on the Indomitable. It fired its main cannon, a weapon that could crack a planet. Sung-ho did not move his ship. Instead, he fired a small missile at the beam. The missile exploded in a flash of strange energy and the beam bent. It curved away from the Indomitable and struck another council ship. What was that? His tactical officer gasped. New toy from the science division, Sung-ho said with a small smile. The council is not the only one with advanced technology. We have just been saving ours. The Battle of Helix Nebula lasted 12 hours. When it was over, the council had lost 2,000 ships. Humanity had lost 34, but the victory was not just in ships destroyed. It was in the message sent. Humanity was not just defending anymore. Humanity was coming for them. Far from the battle, a woman named Myra led a small team through the dark corridors of a council space station. She was quiet and quick and very, very good at not being seen. Her job was not to fight. Her job was to steal. The station held records. Thousands of years of council history. Treaties and laws and secret orders. Myra wanted one file in particular. She found it in a heavily guarded database. The file was called Subjugation Protocols. It contained the council's instructions for conquering new species. How to break their will. How to destroy their culture. How to make them forget they were ever free. It also contained records of what the council had done to species that fought back. Entire planets burned. Populations moved to prison worlds. Children taken and raised to serve the council. Myra downloaded everything. Then she transmitted it to every neutral species in the galaxy. Let them see what the council really is, she said. Let them see who they have been serving. The effect was immediate. Species that had been afraid to speak began to whisper. Species that had been conquered began to remember. The council had ruled through fear, but fear only worked when people did not know they could fight. Now they knew. Ambassador Day One had not stopped working since the war began. He could not fight with weapons, but he could fight with words. He reached out to every species that had been hurt by the council. He made promises. Fair treatment. Equal voice. Freedom. We are not fighting to replace the council, he told them. We are fighting to end it, to build something better. A galaxy where no species is above another. Some did not believe him. Humans were too new, too young, too strange. Why? Should anyone trust them? But others remembered the assembly hall. They remembered the human who stood alone against the entire council and said no. They remembered the look in his eyes. That was not the look of a conqueror. That was the look of someone who would die before he kneeled. 3 species secretly sent resources to humanity. 2 more sent information. 1 sent ships. The coalition was born. Back on Earth, V1 tracked all of this from his intelligence center. His screen showed a galaxy in motion. Old alliances breaking, new ones forming. Fear turning to hope. It is working, he told Admiral Temin. They are starting to believe. Believing is not enough, Temin replied. We need to show them that we can win, really win, not just survive. Then we need to strike at the heart. The Council Throne world. Temin nodded slowly. It was the most defended place in the galaxy. Thousands of ships, orbital weapons, ground armies. Taking it would cost many lives, but symbols mattered. If the throne world fell, the council's power would break. Begin planning, Taemin said. We will need everyone, humans and coalition together. In his fighter, Hyenwu looked at the stars. Behind him, Ghostwing was returning to the carrier. They had lost friends today. Good pilots who would never fly again. But they had won. They had proven that humans could beat the council in open battle. What are you thinking about? His wingman asked over the radio. Hyenwu smiled his crazy smile. I am thinking that the council made a big mistake. They thought they were hunting us. But we were never the prey. He turned his fighter toward home. Toward the fleet that was gathering. Toward the next battle. We were always the hunters. The council throne world was called Dominion. It had been the center of galactic power for 10,000 years. Great towers reached into the sky. Ships came and went like rivers of light. Billions of beings lived there, serving the masters of the galaxy. Now Dominion was afraid. Chairman Vriltic stood in his private chamber and watched the reports. 7 species had declared independence. His fleets had lost half their ships. The humans and their coalition were getting stronger every day. How? He whispered to himself. How did this happen? He had ruled the galaxy for 300 years. He had crushed rebellions. He had burned worlds. He had been feared and obeyed by 1,000 species. Now, a race that had only been in space for 50 years was destroying everything he had built. His door opened and Moros the Infinite floated in. The ancient being's light was dim and troubled. You should not be here, Vriltic said. I did not call for you. I came because I must, Moros replied. I came to ask you to stop. Stop? Vriltic turned, his yellow eyes blazing. Stop? They are the ones who attacked us. They are the ones who turned our subjects against us. We attacked them first. We gave them an impossible choice. Submit or die. Moros moved closer, and they chose to fight, as any proud species would. Then they will be destroyed. I have weapons that can end this. Old weapons. Weapons we have not used in 5,000 years. Moros went very still. The planet killers, you cannot. I can and I will. If the humans want war, I will give them war. I will burn their worlds to ash. I will make them regret the day they said no to me. And what about the coalition species? Will you burn them too? Will you kill billions to keep your power? Vriltic's scales darkened. If I must, Moros looked at the chairman for a long moment. He had known Vriltic for centuries. He had watched him rise to power. He had told himself that Vriltic was necessary. That strong rule kept the peace. Now he saw the truth. Vriltic did not care about peace. He only cared about control. Then I can no longer support you, Moros said. The council was created to prevent suffering. You have become the cause of it. You dare betray me? I dare to remember what we were supposed to be. Moros turned and floated out of the chamber. Vriltic screamed after him, but the ancient being did not look back. On Earth, President Ba'ara addressed the United Earth government. She was a small woman with gray hair and steady eyes. She had led humanity through the hardest years of the war. Now she asked them for one more sacrifice. The Council Throne world is within our reach, she said. We have the ships. We have the allies, we have the plan, but taking it will cost lives. Many lives. The chamber was silent. Everyone knew what she was asking. I will not lie to you, Ba'ara continued. Some of our sons and daughters will not come home. But if we do not act, the Council will use weapons of mass destruction. They will burn our worlds. They will burn the worlds of every species that stood with us. She paused and looked around the room. This is not just our war anymore. This is a war for the future of the galaxy. We did not ask for it. We did not want it. But we will finish it. The vote was unanimous. The attack would go forward. Admiral Taemin gathered his fleet. It was not just human ships anymore. Ships from 8 species flew alongside them. Some were big and clumsy. Some were small and strange, but they all flew under the same flag. The flag of the coalition. This is it, Taemin said to his commanders. Everything we have fought for comes down to this. If we win, the council falls. If we lose everything. We will not lose, Commander Sungho said. We will not, Taemin agreed. Because we are not fighting alone. The fleet jumped to Dominion. The council was waiting for them. 4,000 ships in a wall of metal and fire. Behind them, the throne world glowed like a jewel. And behind that, hidden in deep space, were the planet killers. Ancient weapons that could destroy a world with one shot. The battle began. It was the largest battle in galactic history. Ships died by the hundreds. Energy beams lit up space like lightning storms. Fighters swarmed and dove and exploded. Hyunwoo led Ghostwing into the heart of the council formation. He was not smiling today. Too many friends had died. Too many good pilots. But he flew anyway, because that was what pilots did. Ghostwing, stay tight, he ordered. We have a job to do. Their job was to clear a path for the bombers. The bombers carried special weapons designed by a scientist named Kyung-soo. These weapons did not explode. They did something worse. They disrupted the power cores that ran council technology. If the bombers reached the throne world's defense stations, they could shut down everything: shields, weapons, communications. The whole planet would go dark, but first, Ghostwing had to get them through. The council threw everything at them: fighters, missiles, energy beams. The sky was full of death. Hyunwoo flew like he had never flown before. He twisted. He dove. He turned so hard that his vision went black at the edges. Ships exploded around him. His wingman died, then his backup. Then his backup's backup, but he kept flying. He kept clearing the path. Bombers, you are clear, he shouted into his radio. Go now. The bombers dove toward the defense stations. They fired their weapons. One by one, the stations went dark. On Dominion, the lights flickered. Screens went blank. Weapons stopped firing, and in his chamber, Chairman Vriltik realized that he had lost. Launch the planet killers, he screamed. Destroy their fleet, destroy Earth, destroy everything. His officers tried to obey, but the controls did not respond. The power cores were disrupted. The planet killers sat silent and dead. Vriltik stood alone in the darkness, surrounded by screens that showed nothing but static. His empire was falling. His weapons were useless. His power was broken. He ran. He took a small ship and fled into the darkness of space, swearing revenge, but the war was over. Dominion had fallen. Moros the Infinite appeared before Admiral Taemin's ship. The ancient being's light was bright again. You have won, Moros said. The council is finished. Not finished, Taemin replied. Replaced, we are not here to rule, we are here to free. I know. That is why I have come to help you. Moros raised his hands. Energy flowed from him, spreading across the fleet, healing damaged ships, tending to wounded soldiers. The ancient being who had helped create the council now helped to end it. My people made the council to prevent war, Moros said. But we only created a different kind of war. A war against freedom. I am sorry it took me so long to see. Taemin nodded. What matters is that you see now. What matters is what we build next. On the surface of Dominion, coalition soldiers walked through empty streets. The people there were not enemies. They were just people who had lived under the council's rule. Some were scared, some were angry, some were relieved. A little girl from one of the conquered species walked up to a human soldier. She looked up at him with big eyes. Are you going to hurt us? She asked. The soldier knelt down so he was at her level. He had a kind face and tired eyes. No, he said. We came to set you free. The girl did not understand. She had never been free. She did not know what the word meant, but she would learn. They all would. The old order was dead. Now came the hard part, building a new one. 3 years passed. The galaxy was different now. The old council chambers on Dominion had been torn down. In their place rose the Hall of the Free Assembly, a building where every species had an equal voice. No thrones. No platforms. Just a great circle where representatives sat side by side. Day one walked through the halls of the new assembly. He was older now. His hair had more gray. His face had more lines. But his eyes were the same, calm, patient, certain. He was Secretary General now, chosen by the member species to lead them. Not to rule them, to lead. There was a difference. Secretary General, a young woman called, hurrying to catch up with him. Her name was Sojin, and she was one of the new generation of human diplomats. She had been a child when the war started. Now she was helping to build the peace. What is it? Day One asked. The delegation from the Crick systems is unhappy again. They say the trade agreements favor the inner worlds. Day One sighed. The Cricks had been one of the Council's most loyal servants. They were having trouble adjusting to a galaxy where they could not simply take what they wanted. Set up a meeting. We will listen to their concerns, and if they demand special treatment, then we explain again that there is no special treatment. Everyone is equal. That is the whole point. He saw the frustration on Sojin's face and smiled a little. It will take time. They lived under the old system for thousands of years. They cannot change in 3. I know. It is just hard sometimes. Yes, it is. That is why the work matters. Sojin nodded and hurried off to arrange the meeting. Day One watched her go. She was good. Smart and dedicated. The future of humanity was in good hands. In another part of the city, Hannah commanded the coalition peacekeeping force. She had been a strategist during the war. Now she was a peacekeeper. It was harder than fighting, report, she said to her officers. We stopped another terrorist attack on the Outer Rim. Vriltik's followers. They were trying to destroy a food distribution center. Hannah's jaw tightened. Vriltik was still out there, hiding in the dark spaces between stars, gathering followers, striking at the New Order. Casualties? None. We caught them before they could act. Good, but this is the 3rd attack this month. He is getting bolder. What do you want us to do? Hannah thought about it. They could hunt Vriltik down. They had the ships and the soldiers, but that would mean becoming like the old council, using force to solve problems, crushing enemies instead of understanding them, increase security at critical locations, reach out to the communities where his followers come from, find out why they are angry, fix the problems they care about, and if they keep attacking, then we stop them, but we do not become them. We are not rulers. We are protectors. Her officer nodded and left. Hannah turned to look out her window at the city below. Millions of beings from dozens of species live there now, working and trading and building lives together. 3 years ago, they had been afraid of each other. Now they were neighbors. It was not perfect. It would never be perfect. But it was better. On a quiet planet far from the center of the galaxy, Han-Wu taught young pilots how to fly. He did not fight anymore. He had done enough fighting. Now he passed on what he knew so that others could protect the peace. No, 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 he said to a young pilot who had just crashed a simulation for the 3rd time. You are thinking too much. Flying is not about thinking. It is about feeling. That does not make sense, the young pilot complained. Han-Wu laughed. I know, but it is true anyway. Again. The pilot groaned and climbed back into the simulator. Han-Wu watched with a smile. He remembered being that young, that frustrated, that eager to prove himself. His communicator buzzed. It was a message from Admiral Taemin asking him to come to a meeting. Important, urgent. Han-Wu's smile faded. He had seen too many urgent messages in his life. They never meant anything good. The meeting was held in the Assembly's secure room. Day One was there, and Hannah, and Admiral Taemin, and representatives from a dozen coalition species. Moros, the Infinite, floated at the edge of the room, his light dim with worry. 3 days ago, we received a signal, Taemin said. He pressed a button and a recording played. It was a sound. A terrible sound. A scream that was not a voice. A call that was not a language. Just noise and pain and hunger. What is that? Sojin asked. Her face was pale. We do not know. The signal came from beyond the galactic rim, from the empty space outside our galaxy. There is nothing out there. That is what we thought. That is what the old council thought for 10,000 years. But they were wrong. He brought up a map. It showed the galaxy, and beyond it, the vast darkness of intergalactic space. A red dot blinked in that darkness, getting closer. "Something is coming," Taemin said. Something the old council knew about, but hid from everyone. Something they were afraid of. The room was silent. After everything they had been through, everything they had fought for, a new threat was coming, but Day One did not feel fear. He looked around the room at the faces of humans and aliens alike. They were worried. They were uncertain. But they were together. "How long do we have?" he asked. "Months. Maybe a year, then we have time to prepare." Day One stood. "Send the signal to all member species. Full assembly session. Everyone needs to know. What will you tell them?" Day One thought about it. He thought about the war they had fought, the lives they had lost, the world they had built. He thought about the little girl who had asked if the humans would hurt her. She was in school now, learning to read and write and dream about the future. "I will tell them the truth," he said. "A new danger is coming. We do not know what it is. We do not know how strong it is. But we know one thing." He looked at each face in the room. "We are not the galaxy we were 3 years ago. We are not slaves to fear. We are not divided by old hatreds. We are a coalition. We are free people who chose to stand together. And whatever is coming out of that darkness, we will face it the same way we faced the council." "Together," Hannah said. "Together," Timon agreed. Moros, the infinite, moved forward. "My people have lived for millions of years. We have seen empires rise and fall. We have seen darkness come from places we did not expect. But I have never seen what I see in this room." "What do you see?" Sojin asked. "Hope, real hope. Not the hope that someone else will save you. The hope that you will save yourselves and each other." The meeting ended. The representatives went to contact their people. The preparations began. 1 week later, Day One stood before the full assembly. Every species was there. Every world. Every voice. 3 years ago I stood before another assembly," he said. "I said no to those who wanted to take our freedom. Many of you were there. Many of you were afraid. Many of you thought we would lose." The room was silent. "We did not lose. We won, not because humans are stronger, not because we are smarter. We won because we were willing to fight for what matters. And because others were willing to fight with us." He looked around at all the faces, scales and feathers and fur and skin. "Now a new challenge comes. Something from outside. Something unknown. I will not pretend it will be easy. I will not pretend we will not lose people we love. But I know this." He raised his voice so it filled the chamber. "We did not fight to rule you. We fought so that none of us would be ruled. We are free people. We are a coalition. And we will face this darkness together." The assembly rose. Every representative. Every species. They did not cheer. They did not clap. They simply stood. Together. It was enough. Outside, the stars burned in the darkness. Something was coming from the empty spaces between galaxies. Something old and hungry and strange, but it would not find a galaxy of slaves and masters. It would not find divided peoples waiting to be conquered. It would find the coalition. Free and united and ready. And if it wanted a fight, humanity would be right at the front, where they had always been.